Hey everybody, a very, very happy Saturday to all of you. It's evening for some people, so it's already the end of Saturday, and it's morning for me. So here I am at around 11:55 a.m. New York time. What I'm going to talk about is a groundbreaking discovery, at least for me, that I had this week, right? So what I'm constantly doing, and I also want to offer this idea to everybody else, because we are always trying to learn from outside sources, right? But to be honest with you, outside sources are only stimulation, right? Like they're just like a prick. The real learning happens when we internalize and process. So I'm going to start with narrating a story, and then I'm going to go into what I learned this week about feminine and masculine energies. And my own brain was like, oh, my life made sense all of a sudden. So what this is about is, first I want to just go back to a story. And I know I was in the third grade, and I was an average student, right? I tried to study from the books, bookish knowledge, and I felt okay in life. And then one day I had to study history, a chapter on Subhash Chandra Bose, and I was just stuck. So I asked my dad, who's just an amazingly self-aware man. And I was just like, Dad, I can't do this. This is frustrating, right? So he taught me a technique, which I've actually taught my children as well. I'm the one to teach, but I try to offer it to my kids. And the technique is going 5 levels deeper. So Dad said, hey, if you read this one sentence, don't just end it here. Like, let's take it 5 levels deeper. So for example, you have any piece of information like, hey, this chair is green. For example, I'm looking at a green chair, right? And then I'm going to kind of do an analysis, internalize it. Oh, it's green. Oh, that's the fabric. Green will look good with that background. Or, you just kind of go beyond. If somebody says, hey, this rice cooker is from Japan, then I'm like, oh, probably Japanese people eat a lot of rice. And, just kind of go deeper into any statement that you learn, right? So use only information as a prick, as a stimulus. And I do the same thing with Ayurveda, right? So I pick information. I'll read less, but I'll internalize more. Take in less information, process more. Anyways, so the goal of doing this, right, what it has taught me and what I do with this is it kind of allows me then to really make my, understand theories, have epiphanies. All of the greatest knowledge in the world was actually, understood through a knowing. And we all have that innate knowing. And just to take little information and go back to your knowing. Right? So what has been really confusing for me and what breakthrough I had this week was all my life, right? So I've understood that it's easy for me to be present. It's easy for me to be in a flow. It's easy for me to surrender, to nurture. All of those things are super easy for me. They come to me very naturally. So anywhere, right? I've been like that. What occurred to me is that is a very feminine energies. Now we all have both, right? So let me step back a little bit actually. So we all have both energies, the masculine and the feminine. And the feminine energy is that energy that likes to be present, that goes in the flow, that surrenders, that accepts, that nurtures, that's not so structured, that does not have so much framework. The masculine energy in us is that energy that likes to be in control, that has authority, that protects, that has power, a little bit more ego as well. And then as human beings, right? So I realized that I have very dominant feminine energy, which by its own token means that sometimes my masculine energy, so I'm always in a flow, I'm always like a gypsy. But then my masculine energy suffers, which means organization skills, structured. But the thing is, we all need both those energies. And I feel like the problem with our generation, honestly, has been that either we're too much in our masculine, right? So we take the control, even when we're at work, right? As women, as men, you keep that control and that power and authority. Let's say you're bringing it to your work, the organizing, the routine, the framework. And we might extend it to other areas of our life. And I think that, I work with several women and I see that has become a real big problem. They've been high achievers. They've done so well in life. And when it comes to finding romantic relationships or it comes to just being happy in the flow, they've lost that because they've allowed their masculine energies to really dominate over their feminine energies, which is just surrendering to the world. the same thing happens when you have excess feminine energy. When you have excess feminine energy, whether you're a man or a woman, then you're just too much in the flow. You're too much of a gypsy. And then sometimes to be organized, to have routine, to get things done, to have framework, that kind of suffers. So I'm great at manifesting because I'm always in a flow. I'm great at just things happening, being intuitive because I'm always present and in a flow. But sometimes we need framework. Sometimes we need that to happen. So, this awareness has just come to my consciousness that, wow, all of this, right? Even sometimes men, I'm going to just turn off something that's on the stove. I have a timer. And while I'm talking, I'm actually going to go on doing what needs to be done in life. I have some stuff going on. So basically, sometimes even with men, right, they're too much in their masculine. And I think as a generation, men were raised that way in the previous generation, right? To never cry, to never feel, to always show their authority. And sometimes men from, I know growing up in India from the previous generation were too much in their masculine, which means they didn't know when to soften, when to surrender, when to accept. And I think because of that, right, the female had to kind of really step in, women had to step in and be hello, look after us and don't look down upon us, right? And that's what has happened. But the truth is we all need both these energies to be balanced, to be able to call upon these energies as and when we require them. And in a relationship, right, what happens, I think today, a lot of the people that I work with, and I see that when people have very dominant masculine energies, whether they're men or women, they get stuck in relationships. The truth is, in any relationship, especially in today's day and age, right, we need to understand how to balance our masculine and feminine. So sometimes, right, let's say that you're a female and you're like, I need this done. That's more masculine, right? And it's okay. And that time the man needs to understand to be in his feminine and be like, okay, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to accept, and I'm going to hear. Similarly, when you're in your feminine, I mean, it stirs up the alpha in the man, and he wants to protect and he wants to nurture. And a lot of women today complain that I don't feel nurtured, I don't feel loved, I don't feel protected, because it's hard for the man to really get that out of himself when we are always in control. So whether you're a man, you're a woman, whether you want whatever you want, you could be a man dominant in your feminine and arousing the masculine in the woman, and she may like to be in that state, right? So why this was very useful to me is because I've become self-aware. I'm becoming self-aware of understanding when I need to call upon my masculine. That I can't, it's great to be in a flow, it's great to be like this, but there's advantages to having my masculine. I used to hate paperwork. I used to hate, I'm like, oh my God, I hate paperwork. Oh my God, this has so much structure, I don't like it. But now I'm learning to accept that that's important, and it's my masculine side, and it gives me credit. And it's also allowing me to view all my relationships, right? Mm-hmm. With my children, when I need to be in my masculine, when I need to be like, hey, I'm a mom, get this done. When I need to be in my feminine, when I need to slow down and hear and be present and listen to them. Even with my friends, when I need to be in my masculine, when I need to set boundaries, when I'm like, hey, I'm here for you. And I think once we become aware of those two energies, the Shiv and the Shakti, the right brain and the left brain, the Ida and the Pingla, I think we create a great degree of balance in our life. And we are just and I think alternate nostril breathing, by the way, helps with that because it awakens both energies mechanically. And also then with the alternate nostril breathing, which is, alternate nostril breathing, the Shiv and the Shakti, the masculine and the feminine. And then becoming aware of this as well in your own consciousness, especially in relationships, I think is tremendously useful. For me, relationships are anyways super easy because I'm always in my feminine. It finally made sense to me that why all relationships are so easy for me is because I'm naturally like that. I'm naturally surrendering, but then relationships also make me complacent. Like my closest relationships, my bestest friends, my family makes me complacent because I become like all lack of structure. So hopefully I've said this out loud. I've called myself, I've called out myself, and I hope for this now to really change. And as I'm going to be thinking about this more, I'm going to formulate this better in my mind. It's just preliminary thought, and I'm going to formulate this more, and when I have a more concrete understanding, I'm going to share it, right? But in the meantime, I'd like for anybody who's listening to this to also ponder upon it and see that when you're in control, you automatically will invite a lot of resistance. So you have to pick and choose when you're going to be that, especially in a romantic relationship, especially in a relationship with the opposite sex, to really understand when they're in their feminine and when you got to take on the role of being in your masculine, when you're in your, just that little exchange. And when two people become in their masculine, then it's like, just like, it's a war, like, you want control and the other person wants control, and like, it's just butting heads. Well, that is it for me for today. And I just see a lot of emojis. I feel like I need more feminine then. Yeah, and like, please ask. Goddess Kimberly, I'm glad I'm glad it's making sense to somebody, the whole concept, because for me, I was like, boom, like, this is why relationships are so easy for me. This is why I get complacent in relationships. And this is what I need to do. And like, since then, I've been embracing my masculine as well. And that does not mean my feminine will go away. It'll still stay because I love it. I'm going to conquer it. And you do alternate nostril breathing every day. Yay! Can you suggest a postpartum diet? Mandakini, I have my course, and I believe you've bought the course. So that has a postpartum diet. And if it doesn't, for whatever reason, let me know. I'm going to add it. It needs to be on that course. Okay, guys, let's bring on the questions. I have another 25 minutes, and I'm going to answer questions as much as you guys want in the next 25 minutes. Hi. And Miss France, this conversation actually was triggered by her, who's right here, We Are You, who makes amazing khichdi that I'm going to try this weekend. And this conversation was triggered by her, where a few months ago she and I were talking about it, but it just like kind of really made sense to me this week. Okay, let's see if there are any questions above. Sometimes I have no time and I have a lot of questions, and sometimes I have a lot of time and I have no questions. So let's see if I have any questions that have come up. Guys, actually no questions. Like, I know they're coming, and then when I'm just going to be like, let's see what else we are going to talk about this week. What else came up? Yes, guys, I'm gonna one thing I want to say, I'm gonna do a TEDx talk, which I'm very excited about. I've been working with more and more products. So how to bring more relaxing state in the body. Now that's a more feminine state, right? That's more feminine energy, to be more relaxed. And I feel that honestly, you have to practice active relaxation. The breath and the body together, right? I think yoga really helps to, the minute you're focusing on your breath, your body has no choice but to be in a relaxed state. So if it's hard for you to relax your muscles, if you're one of those people who are like, oh, just take longer exhales. So you inhale, like, don't even bother about the inhale, but just conscious longer exhales. So whatever your inhale is, just hold it for a few seconds and consciously exhaling. Makes your body naturally in a very, very relaxed state. And I'll tell you, the first 5, 7, 10 minutes is actually very irritating if you're not used to it. But after that, you go into a trance, you get into a flow. It's the first 10 minutes you have to conquer. And then it's like, it's a great state of relaxation. And the great part about work like this, right? Most work that you do in life, right? Like, so suppose if you're building muscle, after some time, that same exercise won't serve you. And that's for everything, right? You've taken a medication for a long time, after some time, it's not going to have that effect on you. But when it comes to this kind of spiritual work, the more you've done, the better the results are. Initially the 1 hour meditation may not give you much, but as you progress, oh my God, even 20 minutes will give you a lot. So that's why this work is like, the results you get in this work are just beyond marginal. They're just exponential. And I would really suggest that if you can't be in a relaxed state in your body, forget it. Just exhale, exhale, exhale. And, breathe through your diaphragm, which is underneath, your chest. Expand and contract and just long exhales, and it's going to really, really help. Okay, let's go and go to the next question. Okay. We missed, we'll be able to see it again. Yeah, you'll definitely be able to see it again. Oh no, my TEDx talk is not now. It's on December 11th. That's when I'm going to give it. And I'm going to give it virtually because I'm not in the location of where it's happening. So I'm going to give it virtually, but it is going to be out, and I'll of course post it. That I had my masculine energy strong, and I've been aware of it since. Do you think it'll help with the painful menses? Because I felt it. Absolutely, Nidhi Mathur, 150%. It will help with your periods as well. It could definitely help, and that's why this piercing is there, right? I didn't have painful periods, but like this is just like another level of ease because it releases feminine energies. This one, it kind of does something in your marma points, in your energy flow. The nose piercing on the left side. Right? So you definitely, I think the more we cultivate, the more we relax, the more we be present, the more you're mindful. That's all female energies. It's accepting, it's nurturing, and feminine, I would say feminine energy. And men can also have it, of course. It's very important for a man to have it. It's made me understand that in a partnership, I definitely, while I'm so feminine and I admire the masculine in a man, the feminine is needed to really have a long-term sustainable relationship. Because you want the nurturing, you want the be present. And when a man has both, when he can feel his feelings and be open to yours, it's just tremendous. So Kirsten, columnar, yeah, I could talk about this forever. I think in a romantic relationship, right, like you identify, and just for the heck of it, I'm just going to assume the role that I'm a female with feminine energies, right? You could be a male with feminine energy. So I'm a female with dominant feminine. And when you're just in a romantic relationship, of course, somebody like that would be attracted to somebody with lots of masculine energies. And it feels amazing in the beginning because all your feminine is coming alive, which is natural, and all his masculine is coming alive, which is natural for him. When you want to make it sustainable, right? Now, let's say you want to take this romantic relationship to the next stage, then things need to happen, like the house needs to get cleaned, and you need to have stuff needs to get done, and food needs to get made, and garbage needs to be put out. All of that requires, and bills need to be paid, and all of that requires masculine energy, right? So in a partnership, then let's say I'm the female with the feminine energy, I need to bring out my masculine because I need to be like, stuff needs to get done, I need my boundaries, I need to grow, because the feminine energy is like, let's just go, let's just surrender, let's explore the world. So you need to kind of be like, we're living in the world, and I need my masculine energy. Similarly, the man who loves to be in his masculine and who loves to protect and provide and all of that also needs to bring out his feminine energies, because you have real feelings. And when you become in your masculine energy, the man also needs to understand to be in his feminine energy. I think a man who has, let's say, a straight man, a heterosexual man who has balanced masculine and feminine is extremely attractive, because while he knows when to bring out his masculine, he can also sit back and be present and listen. And what I've seen, people who are just always in their masculine, they're always super intense and have really no patience for emotions. And that kind of leaves the other person disbalanced, right? Imbalanced. So whether you're your man and you have dominant feminine energy, probably attract a woman who has dominant masculine. But whatever those energies are, I think for us to understand that they both, when do you step from your masculine to your feminine? You don't need to carry your masculine everywhere. And you don't need to carry your feminine everywhere. When they're balanced, like I know even in the last 2 days, I've been able to support, my feminine has been able to support my masculine energy. That's saying, hey, I need to get this done. Like actually your feminine needs to be nurturing to your masculine. And I'm like, I have to get this paperwork done. And earlier I used to be like, I hate this. Now my feminine energy has been able to like tell my masculine energy, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here for you. I'm holding your hand. Get this paperwork done. It's fine. Like you need to fill this form. It's okay. So they can both really unite. And I think I just already feel so much better with that, right? From hating all of this, right? To being like accepting both sides of my personalities. And I think in a romantic relationship, it's very important to understand, especially during conflict, what is the energy of the other person. So if the person, let's say even the man with masculine, is having a vulnerable moment and his feminine is coming out, to really be there, to really be present, balanced, not to be like, oh my God, you're a damsel in distress, like you're a man in distress. No, but just to have both your energies present, the masculine to support and the feminine to understand. And So that's why conflict resolution, I think conflict resolution is all about not letting the two masculine energies collide. And I think it becomes super easy. And I think that's what I do naturally with my friends and family, where I feel like the person is getting very aggressive or masculine or protective about themselves. I just naturally step back, and it just always works. And I'm like, wow, this always works. But now it's making sense. Like now I can make a theory out of it. I made a formula out of it. Chris Kirsten, let me know if you have any other questions on this, right? What side of the body is feminine? So I don't know about the side, but I'll tell you the nostril, right? So this is Ida and this is Pingla. So this is Shiv and this is Shakti. The Shiv is the masculine, the Shakti is the feminine. That's how it is. And so it's the left and the right brain. And the Ida, which is actually the cooling energy, which you would imagine is, that's the Shiv, that's the masculine, and this is the feminine, the Shakti. How should women take care after menopause to cure cholesterol, mood swings, etc.? Shri, I have a lot of videos on menopause. So if you go to my highlights and you go to menopause, they're all tagged, and you can really just go. They're all linked. You can always go to any of those. Is water chestnut flower easy to digest? So I'll tell you, it depends on what the water chestnut flower is, but if you roast it well and you have it in little quantity, it's actually kind of pre-cooked, so it doesn't really need a lot of that. But yes, it's not like a super light flour either. It's a quite balanced flour. I actually like water chestnut flour. Ahujaya, so about insomnia, what I want to tell you is not one size fits all, right? In Ayurveda, the first thing is the cause, guys. I keep going back to it. You want to ask yourself the cause. If somebody says, hey, I've not been sleeping because of A, B, C, I'll be able to give you an answer. But the cause of insomnia is really the most important thing to ask. And the cause of anything is really the most important thing to ask. So whenever we're stuck in a problem, in a health problem, you always want to say, what is the cause for this? What type of meditation you're talking about? Any type of meditation. So pranayama is not meditation, but it's a great place to start, right? So the truth is, right, when you look at Ashtanga Yoga and you want to get on this path, right, you start with your yam and niyam, which means you start with what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be violent. So you start there. Then you say, what am I going to do? What is the discipline that I'm going to so it's yam and niyam. Niyam means the discipline that you're going to cultivate. Whatever that discipline is, I'm going to say the truth, whatever it is for you, right? That I'm going to be a truthful person. I'm going to wake up like that, and whatever that discipline is. When you start doing that, right? Naturally, let's say 2-3 months, you've done that. You made a nice routine for yourself. You made a code of conduct for yourself. Brahmacharya, or whatever it is, right? Then the third step is asana, right? So when you do asana, which is yoga practice, which is understanding that you can move your body to your breath, and stimulation of some glands, which will promote juices in your body. Endocrine glands will be stimulated in a way that they promote good body chemistry. Automatically, you will want to be, then you get, oh my God, this body movement and breath combination is magical. Then you get to pranayama naturally. You want to explore your breath further. That's when you get to breathing practice. This can happen one week, but I would strongly suggest start with I'm not going to lie, the yama and the niyama. And look this up. I actually have an article which I wrote for a magazine, and I really like that article. I'm going to actually publish it on my website as well. So yama, niyama, then you do asana, and then pranayama, breathing practice, and then you come to all the other things. Then you dhyana, you increase your concentration, and there's so all of that, right? Pratyahar, asan, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam. Pratyahar is first. Anyway, it's like refraining your senses, and then you eventually come to meditation. You focus, you disconnect your senses, and then you come to meditation. And I think it's a gradual process. And when you do it gradually, meditation is much easier. Sometimes people just jump into meditation. They're like, it's so hard to meditate. I'm never going to do it. It is hard unless you do it in this order and you go with this protocol. It's preparing you for that higher practice. And any type of, you can start anywhere, go to the breathing practice, and then go to the pranayama. Yeah, you can see it again. Want to feel more of the feminine? Yes, Vaishali Sharma. Just like practice letting go, right? Practice surrendering. I think even just practicing being in the present moment, just here, just exhaling in the moment, I think really, really helps. I get sleepy when doing breath exercises and meditating. I struggle with that. So Karen, again, right? You want to start with the eightfold path, and which is not really explained well. So I'm going to do a whole live on it, on just the eightfold path. I'm going to put a diagram, and we're going to do a live, and we're going to talk about why the eightfold path is really what supports the Ashtanga Yoga path, which is not how it's taught today, by the way. That's not really the real path, but how that supports a natural journey towards. When you do it in that order, meditation is that state of trance where you can manifest. And I can tell you for certain, I'm so lucky to be brought up in a family where I was taught it like that. I was taught to bring this in my life in order. How can you awaken the feminine energy in your partner? He has to awaken it in him. I don't know, whatever the partner is, male or female. Just for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to just assume that since you're female, he's a male. No, he has to do it, right? You want to talk about it to him. And some of his feminine energy has to be even present to listen. That, hey, this is something, this is a real thing. And, sometimes because men are taught to block their, in a lot of cultures, men are taught to block their feminine energy, to not feel everything because they think it's not macho enough, it's not masculine enough. And it becomes very hard for them to tap into it. I always suggest, honestly, like even a dancing man or music or getting therapy, but they also have to be open to listening to that, right? That find a moment of that feminine awakening when they're slightly vulnerable to have this conversation. So that's what you want to do. And when he shows his feminine, when he brings that apart, like show real appreciation for it not in so many words, right? But really let your feminine, your vulnerability also merge into his vulnerability and have a really special moment. So that's reinforcement by itself, right? But there's a lot of work that the whole generation needs to do to kind of undo all of that machismo culture that was taught in previous generations where men were not, like I've actually heard somebody in my family, like somebody in my extended family say to a 3-year-old boy, don't cry, boys don't cry. And it's just so heartbreaking, right? Omer Sheikh, I just did that. So you can, when you go back, you can hear about the feminine and the masculine. Oh, Kristen, that's so sweet. Thank you. Can we get rid of PCOD permanently? Again, it depends on where you stand with your PCOD. But yeah, there is definitely hope. For sure, for most people. I didn't get why the piercing should be on the left nostril. On the left nostril, of why it should be. It's just the marma points. It's just the flow of energy. It's the meridians. What if a man has a nose piercing on the left or right? I think it'll do the same thing. It'll awaken the feminine energy. Please talk about healthy weight gain. Guys, I have a muscle building workshop coming up where I will talk about healthy weight gain as well. Nidhi Mathur, not in that much detail, but I'm going to give you some substances to take for healthy weight gain, right? And especially after losing weight to an illness. That can be really, really... There's something called Sukumar Ghruta. Indukantam, Sukumar Ghruta. But work with a practitioner and then take it. Eczema on hands solution. I know it's vast. It's really vast. So there's this whole process. It's this whole process. And like, honestly, it's blown my mind. Like I've been obsessed with it. I've been talking about it to everybody I meet. And as I talk about it, it kind of develops further and further. Can pranayama cure sinuses? And can we consume turmeric milk at night if suffering from sinus? So turmeric milk, you want to boil it really well. You also want to add some water to it. Maybe some other herbs will also help. But you essentially, with sinuses, you want to do the steam. You want to do the nasya. You want to even do neti, unless it with neti, the tricky part is if you don't do it right and it gets clogged here, the sinuses get even further inflamed, right? So unless you're really used to it, you can't. But with sinuses, the best cure is actually prevention, right? Not to let anything get clogged. If you're one of those people, take a little drop of eucalyptus. Make sure it doesn't burn. You can wipe it down after you've taken it, and then really, really massage this area. Really, really steam it, massage it. 7 days of getting nasya in a facility, not the one drop, the marsha nasya, which is like a lot of oil that they pour in one of the Ayurvedic centers, which are now everywhere in the world. So 7 days with something called Shad Bindu oil will really, really help. Remedy for hair fall. Again, what is the cause of the hair fall? Is it stress? Like for me, if I'm stressed, my hair falls. For me, in the fall, like in autumn, like this season, when leaves are falling, my hair, like my joke is, my hair, like sorry, this November, October, November, my joke is that my hair thinks that they're leaves and they start falling. Like this is every fall, every single fall, my hair falls. Sinusitis, yeah. Let's see what other question. Sinusitis, I just did. The thing, you cannot let it get inflamed here, okay? So nasya, steam, eucalyptus massage oil. If you're okay with neti, then neti. Having, more, basically you have to constantly massage these areas. You have to keep draining, not let accumulation. What happens in sinuses is when things get accumulated here and they cannot flow. This whole region, ka flow stops, and you want to just be sure you're massaging it. Love your jumper brand. What jumper brand? What is jumper brand? I don't know what jumper brand is. What is the role of Abhyanga? Your oil nasya to balance. So the nasya definitely does. It's crazy actually. So even when in conception, there's something called Punsavan Vidhi, which is like if you want a girl or a boy, and of course it's not allowed now, but it's like which nostril you instill the nose drop in will determine whether you're inviting a female or a male child into your womb. So that's how it is, right? Abhyanga, I think it's a more feminine practice to begin with. More feminine energy, arousing, right? It brings you in the moment. It just really is this relaxing practice. But I think it's actually very balanced because it also grounds you to the masculine side. So I think it's both. And ear oil, I don't know if it has a role. Nasya definitely does. Hey guys, I also want to say before I forget, my course, which I have put my heart into, it's really Ayurveda taught through a very intuitive process. It's not like any other course because I've taught it as I was taught, and it is online. It's going to be available at a discount, which only happens twice a year. So it's going to be at a discount in November, I think on the Friday, this Friday. And it has all recipes, it has all tools, all practices, but more than anything, it teaches you Ayurveda through a really, really deep lens. It intends to teach Ayurveda through immersion, like it's your first language, not something you have to go back to and refer to, but just like, oh wow, I understand this. Like, once you know gravity, you can't unknow gravity, right? So that's how I want to teach it. Like, you know it, you can't unknow it. And that's in my course. I've poured my heart out into that course. So if any of you want to avail it, like look out for that code on my stories. Again, anything for repeated eye infections without the causes, I'm not going to answer. Healing broken bones from surgery and wounds. There's something called dhara, oil dhara, where you take sesame oil or dhanvantari tailam and you warm it in a double boiler. So what I essentially do is I take one of those olive oil pouring oil nozzle bottles and I put it in hot water. And once that oil is warm, you have to pour it from a distance. I have a video on my highlights. Live on eczema, I can try. I have a lot of on menopause, guys. Go to my highlights. I just said that. How come women are always more aware or into self-improvement than men? Again, to do with the energies. Absolutely, right? The feminine is self-aware. It's present. It's mindful. Plus, as mothers, right? If you become a mother, you're automatically in your feminine flow. There's a lot of women you see, oh my God, like I was this big lawyer and now I've become a mother and now I've suddenly changed gears in my life. It's because you become so into your feminine, because as a mother, you have to nurture, you have to protect, you have to be present. When you're nursing, it's such a feminine energy awakening moment, It's like just, I don't know if the minute you nurse, you actually have an oxytocin surge. You just have this good feeling. I've nursed both my kids for like 18 months, and it's the most intimate and relaxing thing in the world, right? So you will see lawyers and now suddenly I'm running an NGO, or suddenly I'm just like I've opened something else up after I've become a mother, because it really awakens the feminine energy. with what all difficulties you face, ma'am, to set up Ayurveda. Okay, I'm going to say something which I've been told not to say because it sounds really crazy. So when I started working on Ayurveda in the West, people told me, it's never going to work. Why are you doing Ayurveda in the West? Why are you studying this, going back to the Shastra? Like, I'm still studying the Shastra. I'll show you like my notes. I'm reading the Charak again. And I've been making these notes now, right? So, as an enthusiast, as somebody who's studying, you always are studying, you're always making notes. And my family used to see me studying all of this, and they're like, oh my God, Nidhi, that's so boring. Why are you doing that? And I said to them, right, even back then, I said, my goal in this lifetime is to I'm like, I don't care where it goes. I said, even if I never end up practicing because I'm in the West, I'm going to be okay. But I'm going to give this so much heart, so much of my soul and I do believe in reincarnation. Like, I know it exists. It's not about believing. I actually just have this innate knowing that I'm going to be born again in my next life with this in my like strong DNA, that I'm going to know from childhood that I said, I'm going to put so much work into it in this life that I'm just like, next life it's going to be boom. And guess what? When I went with that intention, it all came together alive for me in this lifetime. So I think the path of Ayurveda, the real path of Ayurveda, is just about receiving it as an energy and the desire to let it flow through you. Like, paths will just be carved out. Like, it'll just happen magically. I promise you, you will know where you need to go. But you really have to put your heart and soul into it. And before I think it happens. It's just one of those paths. It's just amazing. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question, guys. Thank you, Aarti. Do you have any kind of teacher training? Of course, teacher training. I am a teacher, so I teach. I don't have technical teacher training, but I've learned, and I'm a practitioner, so I can teach. But my natural role, right, is of a teacher. Like, I'm an educator at heart. Yeah, Ayurveda does, guys. For lipedema, it does have cures, but it depends. How does the Ayurvedic concept of masculine and feminine? So this is not the Ayurvedic concept. Like, the Shiv and Shakti is more of the Vedic concept, which, yes, is also like Ayurveda is also a Vedic concept. But I have not thought about how it compares to yin and yang, but I shall now, Avani Taylor, I shall look into that as well. Gurgling sounds from the stomach, again, could be many, many situations, right? But that's a big one, right? That's something you don't want to ignore. You want to look into it. Were you always so feminine, or do you develop it later? And I'll tell you how I was, right? Like, I grew up in a family where there was just a lot of protection, a lot of love, a lot of nurturing. But we were also, fortunately or unfortunately, taught to cultivate. I'm sure I was born with it, for sure, because I think I'm more like that than my sisters are. But it was also very rewarding to me as a child to just go with the flow, to be like nurtured, to be accepting. It was rewarding for me. So, like, I often tell my brother, right, for me, the way I responded in a big group is by melting, by coming in the moment. And I see for some people, when a group experience is not rewarding, they become hard. It hardens. I have my place. And I think I became a master at this whole thing. Also because I hated structure, right? So it didn't really serve me well. I did really well in exams when I didn't study. I was just like, but when I studied, I was like, oh, so much in my masculine that I didn't do well. So I said,